I just had a crazy experience that reminded me why I have very strong opinions about sponsors in recovery programs. So let me tell you the story. So I have been in recovery for a few years. I actually first heard of a 12-step program almost 20 years ago. No, I guess it was more than 20 years ago, and was in and out of the rooms, really struggled. That's a whole nother story. Watch the other videos. But I have been in a complete and recovered and peaceful, persistent recovery for almost 4 years now. It'll be spring of this year. And it's been a really good experience as I've dialed in 3 specific practices each day that really keep me close and at peace with my higher power, really keep me close and at peace with the other relationships in my life. I'm able to maintain recovery first and foremost through that relationship with God, through my higher power. And that is where all the other power comes in that powers all of my other recovery efforts. And so I just had to start there, because I have to also say that in the last few months, I've been a little bit sloppy in my practice. I had a baby a few months ago. And man, my nights are days, my days are nights. And honestly, if I have a minute that are hands-free, I just need to take a shower or feed my family. And it's been really difficult for me to continue to prioritize the same routine and the same practices I did in the same way when everything feels like it's on fire in my life. So I had someone who reached out to me last week. This is somebody I met through a 12-step program, actually, kind of as I was moving outside of the 12-step program. I had started to publish some things on social media about some of the complaints, some of the things I saw happening in 12-step rooms that I felt like were actually really detrimental, very dangerous, that really could keep people from recovery instead of helping them in their recovery. And as I said those things, she reached out and she was like, I am happy to find you, because you're saying things that I'm thinking and I've been thinking. It's just that I didn't know we were allowed to say them out loud, because of what I'm told is that if we think those things, if we believe those things, it's our own personal defects. It's our ego in the way, and that we need to, be more humble than that and step aside. And she's like, here you are, like, speaking out, and I'm glad I found you. So we had connected. This was, a few years ago that we connected. She reached out last week to see how I was doing, gave her the update. I was like, wow, it's been a humbling year. As I've moved through pregnancy and now through, having a new baby, it has shown me where some of my holes are, the things that I needed to kind of dial in and really focus on in my own recovery to maintain that peaceful, beautiful immunity to compulsive behaviors and to my addiction. And so we had a good chat, and she asked if there's anything she could do to help. And I was like, actually, yeah, like, if you don't mind being my friend, my accountability partner, I would love to just have somebody to text in the morning just to set my intentions for the day. Not forever, but if we could do this for like 3 weeks, just something to help me really just make sure I'm doing this, just to restore my habit and to encourage me to prioritize these practices. And so she agreed, so the idea was I would send her a text in the morning just to set my intentions. This is how I'm going to reach out and help other people. This is how I'm going to spend time connecting to God, and then at night to just have somebody to touch base with and said, yes, I did do that. And I've also spent time with God in prayer to, just ask, where else am I being affected during the day that I'm not aware of? How can you help me out? And so that was what we agreed to do. And within 24 hours, I was getting some serious sponsee vibes from her. And that's not a criticism. Like I said, she's still very, very active in 12-step programs. Sorry, that's my baby chiming in here. She's very active in 12-step programs and rooms, still uses a sponsor, is still sponsoring people. And she does a lot of service. She does a lot of good, and she's trying to bring the message to other people who are still suffering. So kudos to her. I support everything that she is doing. Within the dynamic, though, of what I was trying to do with her, again, I will also say over the weekend she was super helpful. I had an acute situation that it was my own ego leading out on, a situation where I needed to make some repairs and amends in a relationship close to me that I didn't want to, because my feelings were big and I just didn't want to. I was kind of busy licking my own wounds and feeling my own, injuries. And she was very helpful in helping me make the shift and to recognize the value of just doing what I needed to do to close that gap between me and another person, if for no other reason, for my own recovery, right, and my own relationship with God. And so that was wonderful. And but yeah, just over the last few days, there's, she wants me to read this book, she wants me to watch this podcast or listen to this podcast. And those are wonderful things, those are wonderful tools, those are wonderful resources. But again, I am in a place as a new mom, I'm just trying to find time for a shower. I and just trying to find time for those bare necessity things. And my goal in working this accountability with her was only to have a friend who could just help me to just remember to do them. The things that I know will keep me happy, and the things that I know will keep me craving free, urge free, and keep me in a place of rest, spiritual and emotional rest, so that I can maintain my peaceful recovery. And so I know what those practices are. I wasn't looking for instruction. I wasn't looking for help with the practices per se, only just a touch point of accountability to say, this is what I'm going to do today. And yep, check, check, check. I did those things. And, but yeah, she kept following up with me to see, well, how's that podcast coming along that I sent you to listen to? And it was like, I'm not doing that right now. I'm doing these other things. This is my highest priority, is to make sure I am finding and committing to the time to say my prayers. My highest priority is finding, committing to the time to write in my journal, because for me that's so important, that meditative practice, so that I feel like I can hear God's voice in my life, and to find the time to reach out and to serve other people, and to find the time to do these things that I know are going to restore and refresh my relationship with God, so that I can hear him, so that he has room to show up and to do a work in my life. That is my highest priority. Those are the things I'm doing, and that is where I was hoping that I could plug her in as a resource, just to make sure I was doing those things. But here she came and gave me books to read and calls to have and podcasts to listen to, and I know she's coming from a good place, and those resources that she's offering, I'm sure, are great resources and would have a power and a blessing for many people. Right now, they are not my highest priority. Those are not God. The podcast is not, it cannot substitute for prayer time. The book, it cannot substitute for the time that I'm reading God's word. They are nice, but they are not more important than the things I am struggling to make a priority. And so I have to tell you, for me, this made it really easy. I was just like, I think we need to not do this. This is getting some serious sponsor-sponsy vibes, and I'm not looking for a sponsor. 100,000%. I'm not looking for a sponsor. I don't need a sponsor. I don't want a sponsor. Me and God have this dialed in really, really well. And so that's where all my time and energy is going, because it's me and God. And that's where my time is going. So if I was anybody else, if I was a new mom who was struggling in my addiction, looking for help, and somebody came along to sponsor me, to help me, and I'm saying I'm drowning, and you want to give me more to do, you want to add to my to-do list, you want to give me a book to read, you want me to give me a call to get on, you want to give me a podcast to listen to, I would very quickly give up and say, I can't do any of this. I guess I don't have what I need to recover. I guess I wasn't made for it. I guess there's something wrong with me. I guess it's my ego. I guess it's my pride. I guess it's my unwillingness. I guess it's my own character flaws and defects that are keeping me stuck here, because I'm not willing to do the things that this other person, this other human, this other addict is telling me to do. And I will tell you right now, we don't need another person coming into our life to tell us what to do. If you want to know what you can do better, you can think of 10 things right now that you could do to make your life better tomorrow. But for some reason, we have a hard time doing it. Where we need to start is the conversation we're having with God, and ask him, what is the next thing? I can't do everything. So you tell me, what's the one thing I can do tomorrow that will create more beauty and peace in my life, that will inspire me enough to want to do a little bit more. And God will move us forward little step by little step, until all of a sudden we are in this huge, beautiful clearing where we are recovered, because we've strung together enough of those experiences to be able to live in a place where that's just where we live. And so I'm telling you right now, if you're working with a sponsor and you feel like somebody is adding more to your plate than you can handle, don't feel sad to dump them. If you're working with a sponsor and they are telling you to do things that are in no way reflective of the time that you're spending with God, don't be afraid to dump them. If you're working with a sponsor and they are asking you to do things, or asking you not to, or trying to keep you from progressing through the steps because they don't think you're ready but you think you are, don't be afraid to dump them. This is not a relationship between you and your sponsor to move into recovery. This is a relationship between you and God. And if your sponsor is not helping you to facilitate that relationship, they're not working toward your good. Thank you.